Hi, friends. Welcome to a special Friday bonus episode of That Sounds Fun. Y'all know I love talking to you on a Friday. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. I'm really happy to be here with you today. Today is such a special show as we look toward a Father's Day weekend. Before we dive into today's conversation, I want to tell you about one of our incredible sponsors. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. In today's conversation, especially, you're going to hear about the crucial part therapy and recovery work has played in Charles and Cassie's life. And it's just a reminder to all of us why we weren't meant to navigate life alone. Processing our mental, emotional, and spiritual health doesn't have to be something we do on our own. And that's why resources like BetterHelp are so important. If you've ever been on the fence about going to therapy, give BetterHelp a try. They make it so simple and easy to get started. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. We love a quiz. They'll match you with a licensed therapist, and your session can be done right from home. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and fit in your schedule. Finding a therapist that is the right fit for you is so important, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So you're sure to be working with someone who is a good match. I've continued my counseling appointments even while I'm on tour this month. I just think it's really important to prioritize time for therapy no matter whatever season you're in. So if you're using this summer to get some pieces of your life in order, me too, and consider giving therapy a try and find the support you need. Therapy can give you the tools to discover more understanding in your life. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/thatsoundsfun today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/thatsoundsfun. Today on the show, we're taking a quick break from our Summer Lovin' series as we head into Father's Day weekend, and I get to sit down and talk with my friends, Charles and Cassie Kelley. You probably know Charles from the Grammy Award-winning country trio, Lady A, or remember him from the Nashville tour stop of the That Sounds Fun tour in 2021 when I got to interview Lady A live, which was hysterical. If you've never listened to it, you guys, it is so good. It's linked in the show notes. Charles has recently been on a journey to sobriety. So as we were thinking about a conversation in preparation for Father's Day on Sunday, we thought it would be so interesting to get Charles and Cassie's perspective on parenting and family, plus just their whole journey as they step into his first Father's Day in recovery. I'll give you a heads up. This conversation is one that's probably not best for our mini BFFs' ears as we really dive into the topic of addiction. But I think the journey Charles and Cassie have been on is one so many of us are familiar with, whether it's a friend or a family member who's walked this road or is currently walking this road, or it's a personal battle that you're all too familiar with yourself. I so appreciate Charles and Cassie's transparency in this conversation as they share what this has looked like for each of them and their family as a whole, their adorable, magical son Ward, and what it has meant for their careers and their faith and their community. Whether Father's Day brings about a ton of joy for you or it brings up pain or both, it can be both. I hope this conversation gives you a glimpse of what redemption and grace and healing can do. At the very least, it is a good reminder to all of us the hope that we have in our Heavenly Father, who's working all things together for our good. So here's my conversation with two of my favorites, Charles and Cassie Kelley. Chassis. Does that happen?
Chassis.
Do people do that?
Is that our Benifer name?
Yeah, I think so. Cassie and Charles Kelley, welcome to That Sounds Fun.
Chastity.
Thanks for having us.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
Charles.
Thank you. I was not even aware, to be honest with you.
Yeah, here it comes.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming so soon. Okay, y'all, for starters, I'm so glad to have you both on the show. Cassie, do you remember we recorded an episode? Like my 5th episode?
We did?
And I lost the file. We did something on like fashion in Nashville or something. Do you remember this? It was at my house.
I literally have no memory.
I know. It was like 2014.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Wow.
funny.
It was like one of the first things I recorded. I was like, okay, we're going to do Nashville restaurants. We're going to do fashion. And then I lost the file.
And then
So
it wasn't meant to be.
it's gone forever. So this is your
was that
accidental
powerful.
inaugural. But Charles, you are back as a fan favorite
Oh,
from our live show.
from our live show.
I mean, after we released that, people are like, we love Charles Kelley. Give him a podcast on the network.
That's
So whenever you're
hilarious.
ready to make a pod.
You know what? I mean, I have to admit, I don't know a thing about podcasts. And so, like,
Maybe that's what would make
that
you a
would
good
make
podcast.
it maybe interesting. I know. I mean, if you could help create what the concept would be, I totally could be down for
Well,
that.
listen, I heard a birdie tell me that you have like a golf podcast in your heart, like
I
a
do
golf
have
and a
that.
gambling and like a
Well,
kind of like,
yeah.
how do we do all this
Basically, the
together?
complete opposite of what this is. I don't know. I mean, I have obviously with this journey I've been down. I mean, I have kicked around like what. Because, I've got a lot of interesting friends, not just, in the music business, but just also in the golf, world, playing some of those pro-ams and just interesting, guys I've gotten to know, like even like my new buddy Ian that wrote, the Enneagram book. Like guys like that. That would be really cool. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just
yes, Ian Crone, we love him.
So it'd be kind of interesting if there was like some sort of something.
How'd y'all become bros?
Just randomly through another buddy, and we started talking about the Enneagram. And
has he got you on a little bit of an Ennea journey, Charles?
Not quite, not like Dave. Dave Haywood's like deep in the Enneagram. But I do think it has helped a lot with Dave and Hillary how we understand each other.
Man, no kidding.
I mean, I think like anything, you can't take that as the gospel, but I do think as far as a communication tool, whether it's baloney or there's some truth in it, it sure does feel like, there's some personality tools in there.
Yeah, and just helping us understand ourselves. I mean, I know for me, it's like, am I being insane? Oh, no, I'm just a 2 on the Enneagram, It's like, gives you a little bit of compassion and grace for yourself, for sure.
For sure. And when you're in such close relationship with work and personal understanding yourself, so you go, oh, I know I'm doing this.
Yes,
I did it this weekend where I was like, your feelings are so big right now.
Yeah.
It's because you're tired. And so let's just keep it all to yourself because you're just take a nap. Take a nap,
totally.
Annie. Okay, Charles, tell me how being out on the road has been, how this tour has been.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. Honestly, I mean, I had done several shows, without drinking on occasion, but I don't know, for me, it's like the first couple, I was like, okay, a little boredom sets in, but, I think that's definitely where the drinking had kind of evolved. It was like, all right, I'm bored. What's going to make this more fun?
Yeah.
A cocktail in my hand. And it just, slowly but surely just escalated and got out of hand, But honestly, it's been really great to feel super present. I had another friend that who's a musician that had stopped drinking. He goes, man, wait till you do that first show and you feel all those nerves and you're not numbing any of it. And he goes, it's really exciting. So, the first couple were, took a few songs to settle in because it really was like this crutch, like, whether it was even like, I don't know, someone putting on their cape before it just makes them feel, like, all right, it's go time. But for me, I don't know, once I kind of made up my mind, it was almost easier to make up my mind all or nothing than like when I was trying to just control it, and have a couple here and a couple. That to me was the hardest.
Or this category is off limits, but this one isn't.
And because I have other things in my life that was off limits. Like I never really did drugs or anything. I was like, okay, that's not something for me. And so it was like, why can't I just make this one of those things that's just off limits? So, I mean, that's easier said than done. I mean, obviously a lot of work goes into it, but I think with more time that goes by, it's just one of those things. I'm just Charles that doesn't drink. And what I found too is half the people don't even know or care. They're way more worried about the drink in their hand, than the drink that's not
what's
in
yours.
And so but into taking myself out of certain situations, like I've got maybe 30 minutes in me if I go to like a strictly a cocktail type of party. I mean, even a dinner we had at our house. It was one of those really long, like 3-hour dinners. I will say,
there.
It went really long, and it was really cold. But it was a beautiful
cold.
event. It was that St. Jude event. But I will say, by that last like hour, I was like, "Where's the dessert?" And I was like, "I'm ready for dessert. I'm ready to get in my bed." So, but that's great, So
it was a beautiful dinner, Cassie.
It was.
Thank
Cassie
you.
does
And it was
it right.
delicious.
Thank you. I'll chime in on how tour has been. I feel like this tour is so different. I saw the second show at the Ryman, and I left there feeling like, gosh, your fans are going to love this show.
Yes.
It just is such a special show if you are a fan of Lady A, of just a journey through all of
much
your
more
music.
storytelling, and we do
And every night's a little different, right?
Yeah.
It's just wild.
And of
Who
course,
does that?
And of course, we have our basic go-tos that you gotta and they're in certain spots. But then we have just the freedom. I mean, and again, I think we're just at that point now where like we've been a band for 17 years. Like we kind of know what we're doing. Like there's we're not afraid of any spontaneous things that might or any hiccups that might happen. And it just leaves a lot of spontaneous fun moments with the crowd.
Yeah.
And this was an idea Hillary had, and to take requests. And I was like, well, that's not going to work, because if you ask the audience, you get like, 50 responses all at the same time. And one night I actually did try that, and it doesn't work. And she was like, no, I mean, like, technology on Instagram and all that. And so
we have ways, Charles.
Yeah, so we have new ways. And so we play, little voicemails here and there and, just different shout outs. And it really is fun. We'll call the people out and then have a little conversation. And
because that amazed me.
I know.
At the Ryman show that you found the exact people who had asked that question for that song.
Because when they call in and they leave a request, they say, my name's Susan. I'm going to the Indianapolis show on whatever date.
Eight Susans in the audience.
Well, and you're like, where's Susan? Yeah.
But no, it does.
It's amazing.
It loosens the crowd up a little bit. And but it really has been fun. Like anything too, just getting up there and I think everybody feeling comfortable knowing what Charles they're going to get that night. And again, I almost felt like too towards the end I was drinking to kind of help calm my anxiety, but then I realized the drinking was creating so much more anxiety. Just knowing whether it was on the golf course and my wife going, all right, well, how many drinks do you have? And I'm like, a couple beers, and it's like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
So just kind of get more honest about it all, and just it takes a certain element out that I didn't realize had created way more chaos than I'd even realized.
How do you combat the shame?
That's one thing. I think doing a lot of work around it and realizing too that, I will say, in a lot of these groups, yes, it's a disease, but I brought on this, but I do think I have an addictive personality in whatever I do.
Me too.
Whether you want to categorize it as a disease or not, family disease, I would say it's more just, it's something that can just get a hold of you and really doesn't ever want to let go. But, I definitely felt a lot of shame early on. And then, I think once I dealt with it and I was honest about it and I got it out, and especially honest with Cassie, it's amazing how getting that off your chest, then you can move past it with anything in life. And so, for me, it's just been a way of life. And I think one of the things I'd always was like, gosh, what is going to one, I knew I had to stop at some point. I was like, what's going to make me stop? And secondly, what is going to finally happen in my life that makes me start connecting to my spirituality? I would say I believe, but didn't really know. And it's amazing how just every little bit that goes by, it's like that connection and realizing you're not in charge. And that there's a purpose to it all.
Yeah. When Charles was in treatment and I went out there for Family Week, his therapist, we were working on some things and Charles,
because you do group, you do y'all two and the therapist at points.
You do the two of you. Again, so much of recovery in alcoholism and in any addiction is connection. They say the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection.
Wow.
And so, we were working on some things and Charles started saying, and I couldn't stop. And the therapist stopped him and said, you didn't know how to. So I think, when you talk about shame or whatever that means when you're in addiction, it's, people just sort of blame themselves in so many ways, when in reality it's you just didn't have any tools to stop.
Right.
So, that's part of, I think, the recovery process is learning what tools are available to combat your addiction.
Yeah. Charles, when you're asking that question of what's it going to be, what's the thing going to be, I'm thinking about our friends who may be assessing, is this an addiction I have?
Yeah.
Could I stop if I wanted to? What are some good gates to say to people? Here's some questions I started asking when I realized it wasn't just a hobby.
Well,
anymore.
I can't tell you how many friends have just you can tell when they've had those questions themselves. They're like, man, I'm proud of you. It's like, man, I should do that too. I should try. I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, well, if you're thinking about it, you obviously know.
There's the first
but it's
answer.
tough. I think first off, I tried to do it on my own for about 3 months, and I was miserable. I was white knuckling it. I was doing it, for Cassie and the band, just get everybody off my chest for a little bit.
Yeah.
You really have to want to do it, So I think, I don't know. For me, it hit a point where it wasn't fun anymore. I used to love it. It definitely elevated moments. Even that song I wrote with Dave, As Far As You Could.
Oh gosh, that's so good.
It's like, I don't regret that I started drinking. I regret that it got where it got. I probably wouldn't have had the courage. I have to admit that, to move to Nashville if it wasn't for a night, I was up in Winston-Salem working and I was just out and, I had some drinks and just was like, I'm so sick of this. This is not the life I want to live. I'm going to wake up and move. And I'd already made up my mind. And whether it was booze induced or not, moved it. Getting on stage. If I wasn't in that bar that night, I probably wouldn't have met Hillary. So it's like I wouldn't have met Cassie. So I don't regret that I was, I just regret that it took on a life of its own. And, I think for a lot of people it does. And I justified it because it was like everybody around me is doing it too. And it is. And
I can still perform.
Yeah,
I'm not falling on down
I was about
on stage.
To say, I wasn't, and I never got into like heavy drugs or any of that stuff. So I was like, hey, listen, I'm a functioning alcoholic. Is what I kind of would say it all the time as a joke. Oh, I'm a functioning alcoholic.
So that might be a sign. That might be a sign.
But like I knew it. I knew I loved it. But I was like justified it because I was like it heightened a lot of moments for me, and until it didn't, and it did gotten to that point. Where you had a couple nights on the bus and you're by yourself and you're staying up watching like Breaking Bad, till 3 a.m. and you're on your fifth whiskey in the back of the bus, and next thing you know, you're like looking yourself in the mirror, going, stop. Like, why am I doing? And then you're like, just one more. And you're like, okay, now I've got a problem. Yeah. So those kind of little moments, were big for me. And we had some other, specific moments that really led to this. But it just was straining our marriage. First and foremost, I mean, you have to do this for yourself. But I have to admit, I did it to save my marriage. I love my wife so much. And our relationship was just getting tethered. And the thought of not waking up and being in the same house as my boy, like, crushed me. He's like our whole world. But they call it like the gift of desperation. And because of that, then I realized I want this for myself. Yeah. And then it started making things better with the band, started making things better just in general. And I mean, I was blown away at just the amount of support and even, you don't do it for this, but the amount of like respect you get from like doing it.
Right.
From other people because a lot of them, like you said, they want to do it as well. And it's like, it's not this thing you have to be shameful of. Because in the beginning I was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I got to do this. And then it was like, wait, no, this is actually kind of cool, and this says something. I'm a real man now, because I always felt like too on the road with my bandmates, I told Cassie, I was like, I know they respect me to a point as their boss. I'm a hard worker. I show up. I do all those things. But do they respect me as a man? And, they could see a lot of that darkness in there. And so I feel like now I'm kind of gaining that. And that's the kind of guy I want to be,
Yeah. And I didn't even know marriage could be like this. I mean, there's...
We still argue. We still got it a little.
Well, sure. There's still two humans.
Yeah. We're still two married people. Marriage is hard. But I mean, that there could be connection like this. Like, oh, this is what you guys have all been doing for this many years. Like, you have a partner. You have somebody that you can connect with and rely on and trust and all of those things. I mean, all of those doors have been opened in his sobriety and recovery.
I mean, it's the connection thing. I've never heard that the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just a new journey for me. I call it, honestly, I was like, all right, I lived one way for 25 years of my life. I started drinking when I was 15. And I was like, I've done everything I can accomplish in that. There's nothing else. I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows, I've seen all the in-betweens. And I'm like, okay, now what can I accomplish in this second half of life, this new adventure? And that's going to be, okay, more connection with my family, deeper friendships, maybe get my golf game better because I'm not out there numbing it with 5 cocktails. Getting back in shape. That's been great. And probably the highest of that would be connecting with my spirituality and seeing where that journey goes. I'm still, have a little struggle defining it. But that's the beautiful thing about some of this program is like just connecting to a higher power. Yes. And then through that, because I've always kind of believed that we're all, however we grow up, whatever religion, your family kind of ends up indoctrinating you in, we're probably all, in my humble opinion, praying to the same God. We're just finding ways of, kind of doing it. But I feel like we all have that connection inside of us and we yearn to connect and really feel that. And,
right. Whether that's, the Holy Spirit or something else, that peace that's inside of you is the light in all of us.
Yeah.
So, I think that is such a gift of the program, that we get to, learn how to connect with that light in us.
Have you lost any friends?
Not really. not lost any friends. I mean, there's friends I don't hang out with as much, but I wouldn't say I've lost friends. Ironically, half my golf buddies all are sober. I think I think the pandemic kind of all pulled out all our little insecurities and vices and
it's true.
Things we were ready to change. But
is it also because we're 40? I mean, I just have also I'm looking around. I mean, a bunch of us went out the other night and people were like, "I'm not drinking right now. I'm not drinking either." I mean, no one drank at a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah,
I'm like, is this the 40s?
Yeah,
right. Whether we're getting to the age where it's just like, oh, this just doesn't make us feel good anymore,
right?
You know, or a true, addiction that you're combating. I think it's all mixed in one, probably.
Yeah.
Just can't recover.
The problem with me too is like, I would see like buddies and I was like, man, one glass of wine. Like once I have one, I'm like, well, I'm already drinking.
Yeah.
Like why would I like flop
See you
it?
tomorrow. Yeah,
so
let's go.
to me, it's almost like it's better to just be like, all right, just not doing it.
Yeah.
Because I know the one is going to just give me the excuse to keep going. What's two then? Well, then what's, if I'm already at two, what's three, what's four? So.
That sounds fun.
Hi, friends. Just interrupting this conversation to share about one of our amazing partners, Hiya Health. When it comes to my mini BFFs, I always want them to stay healthy, but I know getting them to take their vitamins is a struggle. They want something that tastes like candy, and their parents want something that's actually good for them. And that's where Hiya comes in. Typical children's vitamins contain sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gooey junk growing kids just don't need. But Hiya is pediatrician approved and a super powered chewable vitamin. Hiya is made with zero sugar and zero gummy junk, but it tastes great and it's perfect for those picky eaters. It fills in the most common gaps in kids' diets to provide the full body nourishment they all need. Plus, they taste good. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then filled with 15 essential vitamins and minerals to help my mini BFFs support their immunity, energy, mood, concentration, and more. And get this, your first order comes in this really cute glass bottle that includes stickers that your kids can use to decorate it, and then your refills are delivered each month in plastic-free pouches. Love it. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Our friends get 50% off your first order. That's 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/thatsoundsfun. This deal isn't available on their regular website. It's just for our friends. So you have to go to HIYAHEALTH.com/thatsoundsfun and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. That link and pretty much every other link you could ever hope for are in the show notes or in today's AFD Weekend Review, so be sure to check those out. And just a reminder that this weekend, the Here For You tour, brought to you by our friends at Africa New Life, is in Chicago tonight and Florence, Kentucky/Cincinnati tomorrow night. And then our last run is next weekend, and we are in Kansas City, Dallas, and Austin. If you are still thinking about a great Father's Day gift, get him a ticket, and one for you, and come see me and Carlos out on the road. We have seen so many couples, so many groups of friends, and every time the dudes are like, there are other dudes here? Yeah, there are. But there's a lot of gals too. For sure, there's a lot of gals. I'm telling you guys, every night of this show is different. Every night is so special. We've got 2 surprises we don't tell anybody except the people in the room. You're going to love that. I can't believe we only have 5 stops left. So get your tickets at hereforyoutour.com. Okay, now back to our conversation with Charles and Cassie.
That sounds fun.
Is songwriting different?
Not a tremendous amount different. I think just the content. I mean, I haven't written a drinking song yet. Ironically, the Warren brothers, who were very open and honest about their sobriety, they were laughing with me saying they've written their biggest drinking songs since they've been sober. But for me, honestly, it hasn't. It just made me want to dig in a little bit deeper. But I don't feel any different. I didn't always drink every time I wrote, but I definitely. If I had a good excuse to, I would, but it wasn't every time.
Yeah. I'm thinking about people listening who are parenting through this too. So both of y'all, will y'all tell me a little bit, how's parenting different with a sober parent in the home?
Yeah, I mean, we've explained a little bit to Ward, our son he's 7, about why, daddy doesn't drink alcohol. We've described it a little bit like an allergy, it just, because kids can understand that concept. Of course. It makes daddy sick. So he doesn't drink alcohol. Sometimes mommy will have alcohol, but it doesn't make me sick. Mm-hmm. So, he understands that concept a little, for an age appropriate way. Yeah. But parenting is just like our marriage. I mean, I didn't know parenting could be like this. Charles has always been a really great dad, and now he's an incredible dad because he has the capacity and the presence
energy.
and the energy, to connect with him, So that has been such a gift to watch too, and just Ward be more connected to him.
Yeah. Do you feel that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't think I'd realize, some of the little moments she said. I mean, there was nothing like overly crazy, but like a couple moments that she had said where he definitely said, Dad seems a little off or different. It was probably usually coming back from the golf course.
Yeah.
But for me too, like just getting back from the road, usually I'd just be so worn out, which I've got to admit, I was still really worn out yesterday. We were on the road for like a week. And I'd played golf the last day and then played the show, and I was like, I'm so exhausted. I think I went to bed at 5:30 last night.
He did.
But
That's amazing.
I know. I woke up at 5:30. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But yeah, just being present and not having that excuse too, where too, if I'm like, I'm tired, I truly am tired. I'm not, if I say I'm just exhausted, it's not, oh, well, you did it to yourself. It's like, well, no, I did it because of work. But he's just such a fun kid, man. And, I remember I was lucky enough that both my parents didn't really drink much. My drinking kind of started, my brothers and I, and all our friends, it just was part of the culture, growing up down there in Augusta, Georgia, and then going to UGA, it just,
We're good at a couple of things in
Yes,
Georgia. Football,
exactly.
drinking.
Yeah. But,
going to class maybe.
But it's for me, just with him, it's just, I don't know. I love that, being able to call myself a sober dad. I mean, growing up, I saw a lot of parents, and they were like the ones that, all right, you kids can drink as long as y'all keep in the house. And I'm just like, man, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be those parents that are like, you see them all drinking at these parties and falling over each other, and Ward have to see that and kind of be embarrassed by his dad. So, and I wouldn't say I was there, but it could have gotten there. I mean, I could just see where it went. I mean, even in college, it wasn't like I would drink every day. I'd drink on the weekends, and then all of a sudden you get kind of on the road and you start drinking a little bit more. Next thing you know, random Tuesday, Wednesday for no reason. Yeah. You're just drinking. Yeah. And so I could see where it was heading, and I think that was too one of those things when I went to rehab for a few weeks. It was like when I first got in there, I was like, oh, I'm not as bad as these guys. Oh no. But then you're like, well, I could have gotten there, and hopefully, there's also degrees to it. It's like, just because you're not falling over all the time or can't or whatever it might be, or got a DUI or wrecked your car or whatever it might be, when you have a problem with it, and when like you can't stop at 1 or you can't stop at 5, and I think that's when you kind of know.
I think one thing too for, when you're talking about parenthood, one thing that is pervasive in every person's life who is in relationship with an alcoholic is the hypervigilance that you develop. And especially for me, once
around Charles, or was it hyper around
your
Ward, or for us when we were
your whole life?
Yeah,
all of a sudden, you're just paying such close attention to everything and mitigating and thinking several steps ahead. And I think once you are in motherhood with that, for me, I kind of just assumed, well, that's motherhood. Which part of that is, but it was really trying to make sure that Ward was protected from whatever this is, in addition to, making sure that Charles was okay, quote unquote. So, I think if we're speaking to anyone here who is in a marriage or in a family where they are just noticing the amount of hypervigilance that they have to have, or that they don't have to have, but that they've developed, they feel, there's a really great program that I'm in, and there's a lot of different programs for families and spouses of alcoholics, but, just look into that.
Well, and it created a little resentment, because I felt like I was being parented all the time, even when maybe I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was like, I am not a child, please don't, and so there was a lot of that, slowly but surely is like starting to kind of dissipate in a beautiful way, which is great.
Totally. And it's just, everything that is made better in recovery is infinitely better.
Is there a recovery thing, like the family thing you're in? Is there a version for kids?
There is. Okay. There's a teen version. And I think that program starts maybe when they're 10, that they can be in. But, a lot of kids, there's a lot of adult children of alcoholics that are in my program.
Right,
You know,
right.
a lot of people in my program, maybe they're the qualifier that you call them as to why they're in that program might not be living anymore. And their lives are still deeply affected by alcoholism. So, you know, it's changed my life. It really has. And again, Charles is sober now. I've never been in this program when he has been in active addiction, but I know how much it has helped me in his sobriety. Even that, I mean, if he was in active addiction, it would be truly life-saving. So,
Cassie, talk about, you know, with this weekend coming up being Father's Day, talk about holidays before Charles was sober. What were you praying? What were you thinking about? Like when Father's Day was coming around years ago, the last Father's Days that he was not sober, what was your experience? Talk to the families who are listening who are about to enter into Father's Day with an addict in their family.
you know, I think just again, going back to that hypervigilance and that anxiety that develops, like, okay, well, this is, you know, I want to make the brunch reservation, you know, here and at this time, but is that going to be late to where he's already going to have been drinking, and then it's going to not be fun, and then, okay, well, I'm going to drive home. And, you know, the amount of details that are constantly in your mind, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
You know, and that is developed. I mean, that, again, just saying what Charles said too, that creates the resentment. And he's like, God, no, she's just trying to micromanage all of this. And now I'm more annoyed, and I'm, you know, any excuse to drink more, you know, they say sometimes people will drink at you.
Oh, gosh, what a fascinating sentence.
well, I would
People
do
drink
that too.
at you.
Like, tell me to not drink. I'm like, all right, well, thank you for that. I
In 4
go.
minutes. Yeah.
I will show you. I'm a grown man.
Wow.
Or sometimes, you know, the alcoholics will pick a fight with you in order to have an excuse to drink more. It's like, well, you pissed me off, so I had to go
Yeah.
drink. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, just that cycle of addiction is tough to get out of without help.
Yeah.
But, you know, going into holidays, you know, especially Christmas, I know this past Christmas for us, which was Charles's first Christmas in sobriety, was so magical.
It was cool.
Really?
I mean, just the amount of things that he got to witness and be present for, and, you know, Christmas Eve, like Ward's at that just magical age.
I'm
of-
sorry to tell you, your child's going to be magical forever.
I know.
He is
He's
like
special.
one in a gazillion. He is just a magical
He
person.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
I know. He really is. I mean, you know, obviously, I think that's just the most important, you know, there's many reasons I stopped drinking, but at the end of the day, I mean, I was like, okay, this kid is too special.
Yeah.
I can't mess this up. And, you know, I want to be a part of all those experiences. So,
Yeah.
and, you know, within it, it's like everything else just got better. And, you know, so building that trust back.
But us being able to on Christmas Eve, like, listen to Ward. I mean, he at one point was so giddy. He was like, I'm just so excited. And us being able to just look at each other and be like, God, what a gift this is. And, you know, we have never had that before.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, you don't realize going into holidays or going into a Tuesday, you know, the burden that it has created, just not only on all of the people around the alcoholic, but on the alcoholic too.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, that person doesn't want to be that way.
Right.
So, you know, we all have just been elevated in so many ways and in connection.
Charles, the person who's listening, who's like, okay, this is it. I need to quit. I got to be done.
Yeah.
Who do they call? What do you do?
Well, of course, I mean, you got, you know, AA and you know, all kinds of different places. I think the biggest thing is just being open to try, you know, and reach out. And, you know, I remember being like, I am never in a million years am going to go to some facility, you know, like I'm some crazy person. And it took me a few days to settle in there, you know. I mean, I remember feeling like, how in the world did I get here?
Did you worry about people knowing who you were?
Not really. You know, I mean, it just is, you know, one of those things. I was like, I'm here, I'm doing this, let's go. But it took me a while, just that little bit of that self-pity, you know, and then it was like, all right, something good's going to come out of this. And then you started getting kind of like, all right. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of different avenues. I mean, of course, AA is going to be at the top of that list of, you know, as far as everyone knowing about what that is. And, you know, but there's a lot of different help out there. And, and just I think the biggest thing though is community. You've got to be able to share this stuff with people that have been through it, and realize that doing it on your own is so much harder. They call it kind of white knuckling, and that just makes you angry. And half the things I do when I'm in group meetings, I mean, you're really just talking about life. You're talking about stress. You're talking about spirituality. Most of the times we're not talking about alcohol specifically.
Right.
We're talking about the causes that made us drink, and getting to the root causes of those, and just being with people. I mean, I'm in some groups with guys that, I mean, some of the toughest guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And they're as vulnerable, and there's nothing non-manly about that.
Yeah.
It takes courage to be honest and speak. And but it is, I think, nothing no harm's going to come just walking into a room.
Can you go to an AA meeting if you just look it up? You can just show up.
Yep,
of course.
There's there's other 12-step programs, but they're free.
Yeah.
And the equivalent for family members is Al-Anon.
Okay.
They're everywhere. You can go to the website and look it up, and it's free.
Charles, you're in your industry, which is country music.
Yes.
I mean, what is making the money and topping the charts is beer songs and drinking songs. Will you talk a little bit about what's your hope as you continue in this industry as one of the, I mean, y'all are at the top of the mountain. Y'all are, you're known globally as a country
I would
star.
say definitely we have had our moment, but, being in a band for 16, 17
so
years.
People are looking.
But I think for me, we realize now that we're never going to be new again, but we want to definitely, what is our legacy, because, there people come along and they're quote unquote on the top of the mountain. And for us, it's all about longevity. But I think just being true to the music that, I mean, we've got some drinking songs out there that like Bartender and, Need You Now, of course, has that quarter after one. I'm a little drunk, but like to me, just being honest of where we are in our own lives and write about that and sing about that, I think people can tell when you're just throwing something on them that isn't you. And so I think it would be a little silly for me to be, singing about drinking when everyone knows I'm not. But, but I would like to definitely have, which is why I wanted to release that song As Far As You Could. It was like, I didn't think it was going to be some hit, and it's more, I did it because I was like, I just want this out there to tell my story and to show that I want to be more honest in my songwriting, and it's it came from the heart. And so I do hope that there'll be some more, which I think there always is. Country music specifically goes in such waves with its its sound and its topic matter and all that stuff. But I think I definitely want to be the band that definitely throw some alternatives out there. We're working on some new music right now, about to pick our first single, and there isn't any drinking references in those songs. And I'm proud of that. That hopefully we can have something out there that speaks to people that does offer an alternative. But again, the big thing for me, there's nothing wrong with drinking. There's nothing wrong with going out there and having a good time. My wife still drinks. I mean, most of my friends still drink. It's just. I definitely think at times it can be celebrated to where maybe you could, some young kid is like, oh, I guess I gotta be doing this too.
Yeah, the only way I'm a cool country boy is if I'm
know. I don't know.
Field.
That's a deeper level of conversation than, I think I, want to speak on. But I definitely think that it is nice to have some alternatives out there. Which I've noticed actually. There was a couple of country artists. I think even Morgan had a song. Morgan Wallen on his latest record that talked about, struggling with drinking. And so, I mean, I think, for people to realize that even those guys out there talking about drinking, a lot of them probably are struggling themselves. And so I think, it's an interesting thing, I mean, I think we definitely can glamorize it a little bit in our genre.
And not even just in country music. I mean, in American culture in general, alcohol use
brunch
is
and
everything, and it's so tied to celebrating and mourning, to everything in our life.
There's always an excuse to drink.
There's always an excuse.
That's how I feel about Oreos. There's always a reason.
I had a great day. Let's have a drink. I had a horrible day.
Let's have a drink.
Yeah.
And, for myself, the way I'm kind of evaluating my own relationship with alcohol is, okay, am I picking up this glass of whatever because I'm trying to numb something? Or am I in connection with friends and sharing that time together
Yeah.
and I'm, where there's a glass of wine or something
Yeah.
involved. And I think
Yeah.
that makes a difference too of, is this connection or is this numbing? And when you can really differentiate why you're reaching for it,
Yeah.
I think that is
The
helpful.
connection thing, that is blowing my mind.
Well, totally. I mean, I'm getting better at like being in social situations without having a drink. And that gets easier and easier. I think that's the thing that most people are so afraid of when they stop drinking. Am I still going to be fun? Am I still going to be funny?
People still going to like me, yeah.
And the truth is, I think you
Wow.
find out who your real self is. I mean, I definitely have found that I am not as much of a, BSer as I used to be. I used to could be like, because I was put in a lot of situations where you just have to be nice,
Yes.
and I'm like, okay, I definitely was better at it when I had a drink in my hand. But now I'm getting a little bit more comfortable where I'm like, I don't feel like I have to have that. So I think that kind of anxiety or just, I don't know, that need to be something else will dissipate, And again, getting back to our thing, like if you're afraid of that, no one cares.
Yeah.
Half the people, I mean, I had a buddy who said he was 2 years sober. He goes, none of you guys, that we play golf with, he goes, none of you guys knew for 2 years.
Wow, right.
We were
'Cause you
way
caring
more
about your own
concentrated
glass.
about our
Right.
own drinking. And
Fascinating.
so, I think, in that thing, it's just, you don't have to have it. I mean, and I think you find out who your true self is. And, I found out that I love my mornings. I like reading at night with my wife. And now, because I'm saving about 1,000 calories a day, I end up eating about 800 of them in ice cream.
I was going to ask you if something's replaced.
Oh, you got to have your sugar fix. So I know I have an addictive personality. I don't even, which I should do. I should put the ice cream like a normal human being in a bowl.
No.
I
Straight
grab
from the
the
container.
Straight
whole
from the container.
And
What are you eating? What kind is it?
Oh, dude, mint chocolate chip.
Are you doing
got my
like
heart.
always mint
Oh,
chocolate chip?
well, I'll do anything.
There's a little cookies and cream
but
mixed
mainly,
in there.
Oh, yeah,
but I can
listen.
sit there with like the good old Publix mint chocolate chip and knock out half of that without even thinking and knowing I've done it. And then I'm like, wow, now I feel awful.
Yeah.
But
You're like, Ward, go put this in the freezer.
I know, actually, that's exactly what I do.
It's like someone take this away.
I said,
Get
take this
this
away
outta
from me
here.
right now. So whatever it is, I have an addictive personality. But it's fun though, just kind of seeing what else I get into. Like I never really enjoyed like working out. I just kind of did it every now and then. But now, like I'm like, all right, I like my little routine. I like to kind of get out there, take a couple mile run or whatever it is, and just different things. Go on hikes with Cassie and just finding new little avenues of things that I'm interested in is exciting to me. See where it goes,
Yeah.
When we went, we normally go to the Bahamas or take a vacation the week after Christmas and between New Year's. And we went, back to Harbor Island in the Bahamas, which is a place we love, after this Christmas. And that was, the first trip, kind of vacation we'd taken with Charles being sober. And it was so much more fun because you wake up feeling good and there's so much more time on your hands that you can do so many more things.
Oh, wow.
And when you're, I think when you're not thinking about like, okay, where am I going to get my next drink?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? There's so many fun options.
It really was kind of a big thing too. And, for me too, it was like, all right, on vacation, Cassie's probably going to be a little more lenient. Let me see if I can get a little Bloody Mary here at breakfast or lunch or whatever it is. And then that is a weird kind of dance. It's like all these little dances you played before I don't have to play anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just weird when you think about the concept of like, I let a liquid kind of, rule a lot of my life. And so it's a silly concept, but it really, it's a powerful thing, man, alcohol. And when it kind of gets its hooks in you, trying to get away from it.
That sounds fun.
And I have one more amazing partner to tell you about, Loop for Women from Gather Ministries. Recently, a friend introduced me to Loop for Women, which is a free email devotional written by Jennifer Camp and the team at Gather Ministries. Jennifer's heart for women is so beautiful, and her writing goes to the root of what I think so many of us are struggling with. Questions like, am I enough? Do I matter? Does God see me even when it feels like my life is a mess? I saw on a Ted Lasso episode, he described his life as a work in progress, and I feel that. For nearly 10 years, 3 times a week, Jennifer's been sending some really helpful content to more than 100,000 women who are already in the Loop community. The content she sends out on Mondays and Thursdays is designed to encounter God through prayer, and it's simple and short. Takes about 5 minutes or less. And then on Friday, she sends a guided kit to help you really go deeper in your time with God. The kits use prayer, music, journal prompts, scripture, and more. These encounter kits could be a really great option for your Sabbath when you're wanting to spend more intentional time slowing down and being with God. And one of the best parts, y'all, it is all free. It is all free, and such a beautiful way to help us get into the rhythm of spending time with God each week. You can learn more and sign up at loopforwomen.com/TSF for this free email devotional. Again, that's loopforwomen.com/TSF. And now back to finish up our conversation with Charles and Cassie.
That sounds fun.
The last question we always ask is what sounds fun to you, and we're about to do that. But before that,
Ice cream.
yeah, I know. I'm going to hear about it. Cassie, I'll start with you, but Charles, I'll have you do this too. Cassie, will you go back and talk to the woman who's sitting in your seat 3 years ago who thinks, I am never going to get out of this. I don't know how to do this.
Oh, that's going to make me emotional. Because there was just like so many nights where I would just say, God, either fix this or make me leave because I can't keep doing this. And I read something the other day that was, like when you're in, you develop that codependence when you're in relationship with an alcoholic, and it's like, we just always want to get in that cage with the gorilla. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're trying to fix everything and you don't realize before it's over that you don't have any arms and legs left. Just you can step out of that cage with the gorilla and get your own help. And there is freedom in that. And whether you're in relationship with someone in active addiction or in sobriety, like you have choices too. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave your marriage. It doesn't mean you have to change anything other than what's in yourself. Yeah. And, their 12-step programs, like I said, have changed my life. Reach out for help. Yeah. There's so many people in your position who want to help you and know the path to do that.
So you can get help even if your partner or family member isn't doing it yet.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can find serenity and you can find peace even if your partner isn't sober. Yeah. That help is there. That is a true statement. I mean, if you had told me that I could feel the way that I feel about things, last May, a year ago, I mean, that was insane. Like the fact that we are here now is a miracle. It's a true miracle, but that is because we have both done this work. So, I think a lot of people who think, well, if that person would just stop drinking, then all of my problems would be solved. I wouldn't be here anymore. That's also not true. The work that you can do for yourself is life-changing. Yeah. And even if that person doesn't stop drinking, you can still change your life.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Yeah. I texted you this, but in the piece with Gail, I'm going to cry. At the end where that other anchor says, Cassie's strength is blinding. That has been true for years.
Thank you,
Your
friend.
strength has been blinding for years.
Thank you.
And I love you too, Charles.
Thank you.
Talk to the person who is you 3 years ago or 2 years ago who thinks, I'll never get out of this.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, there's a better way of living. There's, it's not that life. I guess life is more about than collecting these fun, heightened, what you thought were fun, heightened moments.
Yeah.
That I guess if I was there, that, hey, in 3 years, you're going to find out who you really are and what you really love.
Wow.
And that it can be an adventure. I think I always looked at it as whenever I knew it was going to happen at some point. Whenever I would have to stop drinking, that the fun was over.
Yeah.
Party's
Pack
over.
it up.
Pack it up, and that's not the case, that my connection with my wife, would actually grow stronger, than it ever had before. Mm-hmm. It feels like we're definitely back to that connection that we had when we first started, I don't know. It's just seeing life with clear eyes, But I think, too, knowing, if I could tell myself then that it wasn't going to be as hard and heartbreaking as I thought it was going to be. I'm not saying it's not hard work.
Right.
But once I made up my mind, I was like, gosh, like I don't think I have as much of this like fear about doing it again like I thought I would have. I would, and I don't know, once you just make up your mind, I think you can completely, that's the one thing they say, you never want to say like, I got this, but
Right.
And I'm not saying I got this. I know I constantly have to be working at this, but I do feel like because things have gotten so much better, it's like, why would I not keep doing this?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. There's a beauty to it, and there really is. There's a purpose to it, and it's going to lead somewhere for me. So
I think what we've found is the things that you quote unquote give up, you get back just in spades in every way. So,
I look at it like one of those little old, little weight systems where it's like, I can't lie and say, I don't miss drinking in this situation. I don't miss this. It definitely made like a golf trip a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
But then also on the flip side, I used to wake up from those golf trips on the second day and not want to play golf that day, or our family vacations weren't, I missed the morning activities because I'm nursing a hangover all morning and all these different things. I now have this stronger relationship with my son, family, higher spirit. So it's like, I mean, it to me, I'm a very, I look at things, I'm a very, realist when it comes to life. And I like to look at things in kind of a mathematical, plus or minus, and just the pluses are so much more than what you're giving up.
It's been one of my favorite things about hearing you in recovery is I feel like you've told the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, you always tell the truth, but I mean, I feel like you've been like, I'm not saying I don't miss it or it isn't fun.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a lot of people in recovery give the side of, I'm still choosing this every day.
Yeah.
Because that was fun.
I've
love
always
that.
kind of felt like I was pretty honest with. I mean, I definitely would have some. Trust me, I would lie and hide a lot of drinking and stuff. But I was pretty honest with. I knew I had an issue, and I almost thought it was like this funny thing. It was like, I have an issue. You do too. We all do. We all drink too much, don't we? And it's like, you know what I mean? And I always kind of knew, and I would even share that with Van. I was like, I know at some point I got to stop this, but I want to try to control it first. And I think that's the biggest thing. I just want people to know, trying to control it. And just, I tried to just do beer, just do wine, just do this, that, only on certain occasions. If you're really an alcoholic, you can't do that. It will not last.
Yeah.
And if if you're sober now, picking up one drink is going to lead. And usually it's time and time again hearing these stories, it always comes back stronger than before.
Yeah.
And I know that. I know it in my heart because that time I'd done the 3 months, I kind of talked Cassie into letting me have a glass of wine. We were in Paris, and it just made me mad. I wanted more. And then I remember slowly got home, and, I was like, well, I'm just going to do beer and wine. That lasted 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're sneaking it. Next thing you know, you're drinking twice as much as I was before. And it's just, it is a cycle. So
I'll even have friends ask me, like, do you think he'll ever, at some point just, have a glass of wine? And was like, well, he can't just have one glass of wine. One will never be enough for him.
Yeah.
So,
but
no.
I do have to admit, though, I do believe in that. Take it one day at a time. Like
totally.
I think it stresses me out when I think about what I'm going to do when I'm 60,
50 more years. Yeah.
70.
Yeah.
But like, I feel strongly that I won't.
Yeah.
But I definitely know, like, I'm not drinking today. I'm not drinking tomorrow. I don't think I'll drink ever again. But like. I think you can overwhelm yourself when you start thinking about so far in the future. But I do know that if I did, I guarantee it'd be full bore again.
Yeah. But it really is like, I'll deal with, people will be like, well, what if I can't toast my, son on their wedding day or whatever? And it's like, well, we'll worry about that when that comes.
That's right.
But today you're not drinking.
I'm ready for y'all to launch a non-alcoholic drink company. That's what I'm waiting on.
Well, that's the other amazing thing now is there's so many that are coming out right now. Like there's so many options. I mean, if you love a margarita, like you can have a margarita with non-alcoholic tequila.
Which there's a lot of discussion about that. If it can be triggering or not. And I, my biggest thing, like I would have, Cassie had this like non-alcoholic wine. I would, I've had a couple times, but I haven't done like NA beer or any of that because it tastes so much like beer to me. And also too, it's definitely not like in public. I'm so, I'm like, I don't, like, I wouldn't want to have one of those
TMZ
like
prompts.
Heineken Zeros and it's in a bottle.
Right.
Because then it's like, well, I'm doing it because I need to feel, it's like, you just, I don't want to test that theory.
Yeah.
Because half the people say it's fine. The other half people say it's not. And I'm like, right now, I'm not testing that theory.
Well, I think, take somebody in recovery out of this, but people that just don't want to drink alcohol, like there's a lot of options.
Yeah.
And you can still feel social at a party without, water being your only choice.
Right. Sparkling water.
Totally.
Soda water with lime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you can have a complex drink that is interesting or pairs well with food and that doesn't have alcohol in it. So.
Or just a good old Diet Coke.
There you go. Keeping it right. The last question we always ask, because the show is called That Sounds Fun, y'all got to tell me what sounds fun to you these days.
Like a perfect day.
Yeah.
All right, here's my perfect day.
Okay.
I'll wake up, get to read my book for about 30 minutes, connect with my family, snuggle a little bit, do some stuff, go to the golf course.
Yep.
Shoot a beautiful round of 72 if possible.
Is that 18 holes?
That's 18
You'd like
holes.
to hit 72
I'd like to
at
go
18
play
holes?
18 holes.
Thank
I'd like
you.
to have a really nice meal afterwards. I'd like to come home, have a cooked meal with the family. I get to go out, grill some steaks or whatever, maybe hop in the pool, and then finish it off with a little Marvelous Miss Maisel
Yes.
and an entire gallon mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Have you and Barnes talked about this on the road? That's his thing too.
Is that his thing?
Yeah, y'all gotta
They're
do,
on
yeah.
different buses.
I do.
So they.
Yeah, he
y'all
rides
know.
days, but I eat a lot of ice cream.
Our tour manager though who's also sober, and he's an
I
ice
love
cream
him.
guy as well. So
Yeah.
their bus he's on Charles's
got it,
bus.
got
and
it.
they're-
It's
full
always
He's a
of
good
chopped.
dude, Marco.
Yeah,
I
he's great.
really like
He's
him.
great.
Yeah.
It helps having someone too that kind of not keeping an eye, but just
Knows the
knowing that
language.
you're there
Yeah.
and knows the language.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Have y'all finished Mrs. Maisel?
Yes, I just did.
Oh my gosh, you haven't.
No,
I finished it on the road.
the betrayal
I know.
of watching it without me.
She what was the one show? You used to get really mad when I would go ahead on one show.
Well, because we, that was like we had a show
Our connection.
together.
I know.
And then all of a sudden, I got to catch up.
Well, you go in waves. You get into a show and then you'll.
And then get out.
All of that to say, I have not finished Maisel.
No, okay.
But
We won't talk
he
about that.
has,
It's
I
great
guess.
then. It's great. What sounds fun to you, Cass?
We are renovating a house in the Bahamas right now.
Yes.
And the interior design has been really,
so
really
good at
fun.
it. Yeah.
Well, we, have a great designer that we work with. But what sounds fun to me is what we're planning to do some this summer is just going down there as a family and having lazy beach days and just nothing on the schedule and just having that quality time together.
Thank y'all for doing this today.
Thank you.
I love
Thanks,
you both
Annie.
so much.
We love that.
too.
Sounds
I'm not
fun.
going anywhere. I'm with y'all. So
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
we're doing it. Oh, friends, aren't they the best? I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful for Charles's strength and honesty and kindness to share his story, his vulnerability, and for Cassie's just strength. As we said, it is blinding, and her generosity in sharing her part of this story. And I've just learned so much from both of them, and I'm so hopeful about what the future holds for their family. Y'all don't miss Lady 8 out on tour this summer. Our buddy Dave Barnes is out with them too. I'm telling you, their Request Line tour is something special. I saw them here at the Ryman and I laughed and I cried, but also, always Annie. So go to ladyamusic.com to get tickets to that. And you've got to listen to Charles's breakup song with alcohol. It's called As Far As You Could, y'all. You can hear the raw honesty in his voice in this one, and it will blow you away. It's available everywhere you love to listen to music. Okay, so we heard what sounds fun to Charles and Cassie. Now we get to hear what sounds fun to one of our friends who's listening, just like you. All right, Beth, longtime friend, because the show is called That Sounds Fun, I've been dying to know. Tell me what sounds fun to you.
I am Beth from Bethlehem, Georgia. Not to be mistaken for the Holy Land, but Georgia. What sounds fun to me? Do I have to pick just one thing?
Heck no.
Okay. What sounds fun to me today is Mac's 11th birthday.
Oh, I love it.
So, just got out of school yesterday.
Yep.
So he's excited, has a friend over.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going
I
to
love
Gwinnett Striper's game.
it. Yes, that's the baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the minor league baseball
Yeah.
team. That's awesome. Do y'all love going to
Yes.
those games?
We love it. We
Yeah.
actually love that more than going into Atlanta.
Yeah, because you're seeing,
Oh,
I mean, it's AAA, so you're seeing really
Yeah.
good players.
Yeah. We've seen Austin Riley. We've seen Freddie Freeman. We've seen
Yeah.
Brian McCann.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for
It's
people who
awesome.
don't know, there are times when major league guys, when they're doing rehab or when they just are taking a break from the majors, they will put them on the AAA and have them play for a couple of
Yep.
weeks and then bring them back up. So you often get to see really good, like, major league players a lot.
That's right.
That's awesome.
right.
Okay, what's
we
your
saw
other thing then?
Freddie and Austin before they went to Atlanta.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah. My other is October. Callie and I are going back to Vegas to see Adele.
Oh, man, I want to see that show so bad.
Girl, oh, mind blown.
Yeah.
It was so incredible when we saw it in December.
It's like worth it.
We were-
doing it twice.
Oh, it was worth it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you say that, Beth,
So
because
good.
I've really considered it and I have not pulled the trigger yet.
Go. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I believe you. I
might,
really
you might
believe
be
you.
out of luck right now, but I don't think she's going to be done there.
You're like, Annie, good luck getting tickets, but
yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh,
Adele
you
it
can
is.
get tickets, but
My whole savings account.
Yes.
Yes. I believe you. I believe you. Good answers, Beth. Well done. All right, if you need anything else from me, you know I'm embarrassingly easy to find, especially because I'm out on tour. I am so easy to find. I'm Annie F. Downs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the places you may need me. That's how you can find me. And don't forget, you can find the That Sounds Fun podcast on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast. And I think that's it for me today, friends. Go out or stay home and do something that sounds fun to you, and I will do the same. Today, what sounds fun to me? Well, listen, we did our show last night here in Nashville in the 615 on 615, and I'm just so happy to be heading up to Chicago today. So, Chicagoans, we'll see you in Naperville tonight. I cannot wait. Y'all have a great Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day to my dad, Mr. F. Downs, and to all of the dads out there who are raising kids, all the men who are stepping in and helping father children in their community and helping raise the next generation. We are grateful for every man who invests his life in the next generation. We'll see you back here on Monday as our Summer Lovin' series continues. We dive into a super fascinating conversation about dating and the 5 love languages with my friend Craig Allen Cooper, as well as my friends Mike and Lillian. You know Lillian, she's on the pod. Y'all have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day. See you on Monday.
Yeah, I like that right there. Yeah. Say check 1, 2 on a microphone. Annie F. Downs in your car to your home. Check 1, 2 on a microphone. Annie F. Downs in your car to your home.